Just give me a second to get set up, and then we'll start walking. I think I'm gonna. It's late enough. I'll run into a few people. It's about 2 degrees. They warned it might snow. It doesn't look like it's actually going to snow. They've not been very good about calling snow or no snow recently. I think because most of the time it's no snow, and then snow caught people off guard. Talking about maybe Saturday again. They were talking about maybe this morning. Yeah. There. All right. So here's the Gogyo River. Nice little river. It runs exactly through. So a lot of these rivers were used for transportation back in the day. Mocha was big on cotton and particularly cotton fabric production. All right, we have some control gates here, broken up. The rivers now are actually pretty heavily dammed and controlled. Part of the reason for that is for a long time throughout history, water was a bit of a problem. So you seem to either have too much of it or not enough. So Tochigi, and actually the Kanto Valley in general, had lots of problems with flooding. So there would be these massive floods that would come in and, ruin property, kill a lot of people, and that would be a problem. So now we have a lot more flood control methods, but we still end up having problems with it. Not this year, last year we had some pretty intense rain for a while, which ended up actually canceling the train. There was just so much rain, which I was hoping was going to cancel work, but it didn't. So I was a little disappointed. Yeah. Anyways, we're just going to walk along the river for a ways. There's actually a pretty nice trail that follows the Gogyo. I know it goes all the way down into Ibaraki, into Shinseki. It might go further than that. I'm not sure. A lot of times if I'm going to like Tsukuba, I'll take this path. So I'll bicycle along this way to Shinseki, and then once I get to Shinseki, I take another road off to Tsukuba. I get on the Rintintin, which is a bikeway. It's a rail trail basically, and then I'll take that to Tsukuba. All right, under the road. Then we'll get back to the river. This is just a small little detour. Hello, the incredible Bulk. How are you today? There we are. Oh, it's back. So this is kind of the, I guess you'd almost call it like the southern edge of Mocha. There's a small industrial park over here, which we'll pass by. You can hear them, they're already busy at work. So I finished work just about an hour ago for my night job. So I have a nice break before my day job in the afternoon. So we're going out for a walk. These along here are actually all cherry trees. So this path is actually very, very popular during the spring when there's cherry blossoms. There's those are burdocks, but along this side and a few other places here too, a lot of times there's a plant called nanahana that's growing, and so you'll also see lots of people out here picking nanahana because you can eat it. It's pretty good. I think you technically can eat it raw. Most people cook it with garlic, do a little like vegetable stir fry with it. It's pretty good that way. Lots of ducks. There you go, buddy. You kind of notice during duck hunting season, the ducks are more likely to clump up in the sections of rivers and areas that are not open for hunting. Over here, all agriculture. Yep, cherry tree. He's still got a few weeks, a few months. No, it wasn't this. Irrigation runoff gate. So basically they can control the water flow, dump it into the river. So if we look over here, well, in the distance you can see the mountains in Nikko, and I think that's Nasu. The one that's kind of covered by a cloud, that's Nantai. I've actually hiked up there. That's one of the 100 famous peaks in Japan. Nasu's one of the other ones in Tochigi, and then you can't see it today, but behind Nantai there's Shirise, which is the third one. But what I'm actually talking about is right here. So that's actually for the water, for irrigation to come through. Now right now it's dry because you need water for irrigation. It's winter time. But during the spring, summer, it's going to be flowing with water. So some of those places can actually be really good to fish for microfishing or for crayfish, which is another fun one to fish for. Or I like it. There are invasive crayfish here. They're from North America. I forgot their scientific name. Sometimes they're called like U.S. crayfish, North American crayfish. I think in the North America they have a different name. So they're invasive. They're red. They've got bigger, thicker claws. The local crayfish species is kind of thinner. It almost looks more like a shrimp. It's got smaller, longer claws. So you are allowed to keep the invasives. You're not allowed to keep the local species. That's actually not an uncommon setup here. More ducks. Lots of ducks today. Yeah, we'll just keep going. I'm also planning to kind of re-walk this route, do another maybe morning live stream walk when the cherry trees here are in blossom. We're just going to continue down this way. Of course, chat if you have any questions, fire away. There, Scuba. So Scuba is one of the 100 famous peaks. It's actually the shortest of them. It's also the first one I ever did. Then if you look over, nope, can't see the other ones right now. If everything lines up just perfectly right, very clear day, there's a bridge in Utsunomiya where it's got to be perfectly clear day, and everything has to line up right for this to happen. So you can see Fuji off in the south, you can see Tsukuba, you can see Nantai, you can see Nikko Shirase, and you can see Nasu. So right there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see 5 of the 100 famous peaks in Japan. They're not all in the same prefecture though at that point. I had it line up perfectly one time in my life where I could see all 5 while I was crossing over the bridge, which was actually kind of cool. Pretty rare though. It usually has to be winter. Generally you can see further in winter in Japan because the air is clearer, and you got to do it pretty early in the morning. It was like still sunrise. And some of them you're barely seeing them, to be totally honest. Oh, doing some cutting. There's the, I can't quite see it yet. I'm gonna pass under the highway next. You know, they were saying 2 degrees. Doesn't feel like 2 degrees. Feels warmer. Which probably means it's warm, because I'm usually the person who's like, it feels colder. It feels like it's 0. Someone's having breakfast over there. Here, we'll look out towards Scuba. It's actually a pretty nice river. They don't stock it very heavily. I don't think they stock trout in it at all. They do stock ayu, but not as many. So this river, the Gogyo, is part of the same fishing association as the Kinagawa. So that association manages licensing and stocking for both rivers. And so they stock 2 different things. They stock trout and they stock ayu. As far as I know, pretty much all of the trout are stocked in the Kinagawa, the Daiagawa, which feeds into the Kinagawa, and a few other smaller tributaries of the Kinagawa. Ayu are mostly stocked in those same ones, the Kinagawa, and there's a lower tributary that runs through Utsunomiya that they stock. They also do stock some ayu here in the Gogyogawa, and I forgot the name of the one that runs right through the center of Mashiko. They also stock a few in there, but not many. That river, unfortunately, has a pretty bad invasive problem with bass starting to show up in the river, and particularly the tributaries. One of the tributaries over there in Mashiko, I've caught a lot of bass in. I think they've started to get it under control of people, you know, catching them and killing them. Still, not great. All right, my first pair of gloves that I put on was too heavy, so I'm switching gloves as best as I can. Yeah, popular place to walk in the morning. So as far as fish you can catch in the Gogyogawa, after they stock ayu, you can catch ayu, of course. You can catch carp, chub, dice. Those are your main species of fish that I've pulled out of here, or I've seen other people pull out. Oh, well, watch my head. I'll switch from rail gloves to the super cheap Daiso things. I love Daiso. He's going fishing, probably for carp, judging by how big and thick those rods are. Carp fishing, particularly catch and release carp fishing, is really popular in Japan. You see a lot of people doing it nowadays. Well, forever. There's a few different methods to it. You can eat them. Some people do eat them. It's one of those foods that, and there's a lot of these in Japanese foods where, late 40s, 50s, even into the 60s, particularly, late 40s and 50s, post-war, the country was very poor. Diets were pretty low in protein, and this actually has been a historical problem in Japan for everybody who's not super rich. That they would have these very low protein diets, and so there was kind of these issues of where do you get protein. Whaling was one solution. The other one was there was a lot of foods that were eaten then that aren't really eaten now. Carp being an example is that it used to be relatively normal to eat carp. Actually, in a lot of countries, carp kind of just fell out of favor over time as a food source. So, for example, in North America, carp was actually introduced to be a food source. The Amur carp, a lot of those bloodlines here, we believe they were brought in the Yaoi period as a source of food to mix with your wet water rice production as a protein source. Now, we also know through DNA analysis that there were other carp species already here. And so if you were producing rice, you could also produce carp. And that could be a food source for you. Now, we don't eat carp that much, just globally. It's still eaten quite a bit in parts of Southeast Asia, where, it's a little poor, there's less protein options, so people are more likely to eat carp there. So carp as a food kind of fell out of the Japanese diet, and now carp fishing is basically a catch and release sport mostly. Some people still eat them. Even white carp. White carp for a long time, tuna in Japanese, was also a very big part of people's diets. Now it's mostly just fished for fun. If you go down near Biwa, which was historically a center of eating white carp, you still find food made out of white carp. But it's more of a local, regional thing, just like eating bees in Nagano. Let's even, whale consumption is down too for the same reason. For a long time, whale was a cheap source of protein. People have more money now. Beef has grown in popularity, chicken, pork. We've also gotten a lot more efficient space-wise about, pork, chicken. For parts of Japanese history, that did play a big factor into not eating a lot of land animals with space. The amount of space that we need to grow enough food for a person has historically shrunk. Farming methods have gotten more efficient. Crops have been bred to be more efficient. All of those feeding together mean that we actually need less and less space to grow the basics for human survival. That's also why, Japan can have a pretty large population, larger than it used to, and not really have to worry that much about feeding itself the basics. All right. What do we got over here? I'm under the highway now. So more agricultural land through here. Little, I guess you'd call it a setoyama. A little bit of forested patch. Oh, truck coming. So because of the way cities are organized here in Japan, this is all Mocha City. So a lot of the smaller towns and villages basically have been taken and merged together with a city. So areas might actually be pretty distinct from each other, like it's noticeable, like, okay, this is a different area, but still be part of the same city. Some cities, Nikko City, for example, has just kind of become a sprawling, map-filling mess. Mostly because, what else are you going to do? You're going to have a bunch of these small, population declining towns and villages try to maintain themselves, or are you just going to merge a bunch of them together? Well, the answer picked here was merge a bunch of them together. I actually fished down there quite a few times for carp. It was a pretty good place. I used to fish there quite a bit last year. No, 2 years ago. Last year. Last winter when I was in the Sunfish King winter fishing tournament. Actually, maybe there was a fortification up there. No, not the right shape. Sometimes you'll see these kind of remained mound areas, and they might have been fortifications on there at one point. This area was pretty contentiously disputed, I'm going to put it, during the Sengoku period. So the Sengoku period, lots of fighting going on in this area. The Utsunomiya clan basically clashed with a lot of the other smaller clans around here. There was also, who else was around here? I believe the Hojo had something going on here. The late Hojo. A few others. Actually, now that I see that, yeah, there might have been something up there. So as you go along this river, particularly further south when you get closer to Ibaraki, there's a lot of these tiny ruins of small fortifications that were built overlooking the river. You also have to remember the river would not have been dammed back then, so it would have been a bit more volatile and probably thicker. Bicycle. Deeper, kind of a nastier place to cross. Yeah, I'm not sure. I should look it up. The more I'm looking at it, the more I'm thinking, I might have had some man-made influence in that thing. It's funny, I always bicycle past it and don't think much about it. Alright. Stuff you don't want to explode or leak, keep it a little ways away from the city. Lots of cherry trees through here, so this is a very popular place in the spring. Anybody ever tells you Japan is super clean? No, it's not. It's just certain spots. Look at all that trash. I think that's someone's rice maker. Okay. I do sometimes think the difficulties when expense of throwing away bulk trash in some countries makes it that people just dump it on the side of the road into a river. Well, they're releasing quite a bit of water. These are just outright empty. So, not the best sign. Actually, this one's in horrible shape. So, rivers, ponds in Japan will generally have a poster like this with the licensing authority and the fishing seasons. So, yeah, not much is in season. So, trout line? Maybe they, I don't know. think they stock trout in here, but it does have a season listed. But it's the same with all the rivers in the Kinagawa Fishing Association. So I'm not taking it face value. The only thing I know they stock in here is ayu. And those are the summer, very warm weather fish. The other thing too is, you notice with the trout, they list a lot of different species. The government in Japan has gotten a little more strict about what you can and can't actually release as time goes on, which makes sense. So for example, you used to be able to release bass, and so you would actually have pay ponds that did bass fishing. Well, they've restricted that a lot, and you basically have to get certified to be able to have bass, and they're looking to make sure that the fish can't escape. I've noticed also that less and less places are stocking rainbow trout, and more places are going to cherry trout, which is a local trout species, which I actually think is good personally. Yep, definitely warming up. Birds didn't like me. Is that a cormorant? No. Leg's not long enough. Kind of hard to see the sun bouncing off. I'm kind of far north to see cormorants, to be totally honest. They're more further south in Japan usually. I've seen a few. Once in a while I'll spot one. It's also hunting season for them too. Alright. So if you actually keep going that way, basically the road ends. Let's get out on the bridge and take a look. Moorhen. So basically, if you keep following the trail, which is over there now, south, you will eventually cross over the border to Ibaraki, and if you keep going, you're going to get to Shinseki. Shinseki actually is a pretty big rail hub. There's a few different lines that come in there. Oh, there's some carp. I don't know if they'll show up on camera, but there's some carp right there. So anyways, if you keep going this way, you'll hit Ibaraki and eventually Shinseki. If you follow this river far enough, it eventually joins the Kinagawa. And let's go to the other side. This is actually the direction I came in. So you keep going up, you will hit Mocha City. Actually, if you keep going up from there, you pass through and eventually reach Haka. Actually, a pretty day. Well, now that the sun is out, it feels warm. All right. So I'm going to head back on the other side of the river. You can see more cherry trees. More cherry trees. Absolutely lovely place in the spring. I'll actually start a little further north. Oh yeah, look. It's unfortunate I have to put up these signs, but hey, don't dump your trash in the river. But people still do. People are messy. go north. Yeah, so this is a different species of cherry tree. They kind of more produce a, I should say, a weeping look. They actually have quite a few of these in Mocha. All right. I keep saying I'm going to get back into fishing live stream. Actually, I keep saying I'm going to get back into live streams in general, but we'll see if that happens. Let's be totally honest. So we're heading north now, back towards Mocha City proper. There you can see the other side. Kind of want to keep that away from populated centers. Kind of sunny on that side. You can see the farmland. Actually, that's a pretty good view of how those gates work. Be careful, don't want to fall. More importantly, don't want to drop my phone and have it go into the river and have to go swimming, because that would be cold. Actually, that kind of gives you a good view of how the gates work that they have along here. So it's pretty simple. They're generally connected to an irrigation system. They basically just have a winch that can be lowered and raised. Are these guys about to move it? Because that'd be kind of fun to catch on live stream, even if no one's watching. So you see they have a wheel up at the top there. Can I actually zoom in during a live stream? Oh, yeah, you can. It looks horrible. You can see that there's a wheel right there, and that they spin the wheel, be able to move that gate up and down. And I think they're going to take a water sample. Since it does pass right back. Yeah, they're taking a water sample. Let me take my glove off so I can zoom in. Kind of gives you an idea of the gate too, actually. So they're getting a sample of the water since it passes by the facility. The gate itself can be lowered. There's a wheel there, and it's basically a long rod that acts like a ratchet, I guess is the best way to put it, to lower or raise the gate. And water check. Since so there's a place, I've been there once, it's called Asho, and it has the distinction of being the first major pollution, first major super site, I guess you would call it, in Japan. Actually, I think they do call it a super site when you translate it out. Basically, Asho was an area known for copper, and for a long time they minted copper there. The Tokugawa government during the Edo period was, of course, Very interested in this because they used copper for a lot of their coinage. Anyways, Tokugawa, the Edo period, it ends. Meiji government takes over. Of course, copper is an important industrial metal. So mining continues. Now, they started importing more effective mining methods as far as getting copper. Unfortunately, one of them was using arsenic and using the arsenic to dissolve a way to get the copper. And the problem was that the arsenic, you don't actually want to get that in your water, but it did. So the arsenic got into the water and started poisoning people downstream, and it became a pretty major political scandal. There was, some of it was they tried to hide it. They tried to cover it up, and they got exposed, and that was kind of embarrassing, and it caused major problems. And so there's been a lot of work done on the river there, Watanabe. Is that the Watanabe? There's a lot of work that was done on that river basically to try to remove the arsenic and other poisons that got into the water. But you even go up there today and you walk through Asho and you look down at the water, and it's weird because there's nothing living in the water in lots of sections because it is still so poisonous. So they built different methods to try to filter out dams, filtration systems to try to get rid of as much as they could. But that still caused major concerns. There was a lot of bad press around it. And that was just one of many examples. And so, a lot of laws were passed about keeping the water clean. And we're also more conscious about those things now, right? We don't think as much back then about oh yeah, this is poisonous. Don't drink it. Oh, but it's getting to the river. Oh, don't worry. Go out to the ocean. Well, it didn't quite work out that way. So even today, there's concerns about that. Oh, there's a shrine over there. So I usually bicycle this section. I don't usually walk it. Asha's kind of, I don't know, creepy. That's the right word. So Asho, because there's so few people there, it was absorbed into Nikko City. But you go there today, and it's kind of creepy. Lots of abandoned houses. There's lots of historical stuff. You can tell there's a real history there. The museums are pretty cool. Don't go on a Monday. I made the mistake of going on a Monday. So unfortunately, Monday, lots of things are closed in Japan on Monday. So yeah, there's a shrine right there. So I went to Asho on a Monday, and pretty much everything was closed. Only the big main museum where you go into the tunnels of the former mine, that was the only thing open. It was still a really fun trip. Truly felt like a ghost town. I got there pretty early in the morning. Not much was open. Not much was going on. I mean, there's a few ghost towns like that. There's villages and sections where you go and just everything's empty. Most of the people are gone. Asho had the double hit of it's remote. The main job, the copper mine, has closed. It's not super easy to get to. Doesn't really have a touristy thing. I mean, there's a little bit of tourism going on there, but not as much. They also have infrastructure problems. So there really there's not much for hotels and places to stay in Asho. So even if you're like me and you wouldn't mind spending a day or two, there's some interesting hikes around there, go to see the different historical stuff, you really don't have a place to stay. So most of your tourism is going to be somebody taking the little local train or driving in for a day. There is a campground sort of nearby. Still a long walk from the train station. It's also funny though, because I was talking to some of my students. I was like, oh, I went to Asho. They're like, oh, where's that? I was like, oh, it's in Nikko. And then, I kind of reminded them the history. They're like, oh yeah, I read that in my history books. That's in Tochigi. So I also think it suffers a little bit from like being known, but not known enough. Where these students would be like, oh yeah, I remember reading about that in my history books. And then they'll be like, wait, that's in the same prefecture that I live in? That's in Nikko City? I can kind of just talk about whatever I want. Nobody's watching this live stream. All right, here we are on the, I think, less pretty side, particularly in the spring, because we don't have all the cherry trees. But that's okay. Ooh. I'm gonna wrap this up at the hour mark anyways. But yeah, winter mornings in Japan, aren't they lovely? I don't even need any of my clothes right now. My hands are starting to sweat. Ah, that's better. If anybody's watching, they'd be like, woo, 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 woo. This gimbal's not as good as it used to be. I mean, let's be honest, it was cheap. It was an Amazon special. Actually, if I didn't extend it, oh yeah, see? There, that's better. I don't know why I had it extended all that time. It's actually much smoother if you don't extend the gimbal. That makes sense, right? Yeah. Physics. There's the train. Probably can barely or not even see it at all. So that's the local train. So the green and red, the strawberry Ichigo line. This area, Haga district, is known for strawberry production. Strawberries Ichigo in Japanese, so it's the Ichigo train. They also have a steam train that's called the SL. Yeah. I actually have a video of me and my wife and daughter taking the SL from Motegi, which is the northern terminus, down to Mocha Station, which we live in Mocha, so that makes sense. But I work in Mashiko because, life. I wonder actually if there used to be a bridge here. Look at that, it looks like part of a pillar. And actually, the retaining wall over there is a little weird. It's amazing when you think about how much time and money has been spent on water control. You know, not just to keep the rivers safe and not be dangerous, but also just purely for agriculture. There's some carp activity down there. I should technically cross here, shouldn't I? Yeah, I should. So, where I'm parked is between the next bridge. No, I'll just keep going. I'll keep on this side. I'll just make a slightly longer loop. Hopefully, I don't know why I'll talk about this because nobody's watching, but whatever. Hopefully next week I should be releasing 2 videos, actually. One of them will kind of be my normal ones. It'll be a fishing one. Heading off to the association's pay pond, trying out a new rod and reel that I got. The reel, actually, I won in last winter's Sunfish Kings Multi-Species Madness tournament. The other one is footage from last year. It is something I filmed when I was in the Izu region of Fukushima, Japan. It'll be Aoichijuku. People actually voted on that in a poll. I was actually really happy with doing a poll. I feel like I'm going to do those more often for picking what to yank out of the archives. Because part of the problem is that particularly our trip to Fukushima, I have a lot of footage that I can make into videos, but they haven't been made into videos. Here comes the tractor. Yeah. It's that time of year where they're doing lots of prep work, breaking up the fields. Oh, well, that's interesting. So this is part of the Kanto Friendship Trail. These are new signs, actually. So the Kanto Friendship Trail is a series of trails around the Kanto region of Japan. They generally stop at significant historical, cultural, or natural places. So, that way. Ruins of a shrine, Jinja. Jinja means shrine. And it goes to Moka Station, which is 3 kilometers away. So generally, This is kind of, I guess, the convenient part about them is they start and end at train stations. I'm not sure where that one starts. I've mostly done the ones in Mashiko and a few in Motegi. Actually, my last live stream, I was walking on one of them, my favorite one. The issue with them that I find personally is that a lot of them are just road walks. You're walking on a road until you reach an interesting site, and then you walk on the road until you reach an interesting site. So I find them a little boring for that reason. I almost feel like, well, why am I not bicycling it then if I'm just going to be on the road the whole time? Actually, I think that one, the one that I'm technically walking on now, I think it's all on the road. I don't think there's a single part that's like a trail or off-road. Where the one in Mashiko, the one I did in my last live stream, or part of it, a good section of it is not on the road, which I like. A good section of it is actually feels like real hiking. Oh, dove. Or pigeon, depending on what you want to call it in your language. Turtle dove. Actually, no, that's Eurasian dove, not turtle dove. Where there's one I did in Motegi, where there's like such a tiny part of it that's not on a road. I found it kind of boring a little bit because I felt like I was just walking on the road from interesting place to interesting place. I also understand, like, it'd be kind of hard to find a place like they did in Mashiko where so much of it was off-road. I believe the sections in Nikko are a lot more off-road too, particularly the sections near Asho. But particularly this section along the Gogyo, so much of it's on the road. A lot of it in Motegi, also along the road. Not that interesting. Not my cup of tea. I'm still gonna do more of them. I'm thinking about doing a relatively long version of one when the cherry blossoms are in bloom, because it'll pass by a lot of places that are really nice for that. That's the other problem. A lot of it, the trail seems to be planned on, oh, it's going to be spring. There's cherry blossoms. Let's send them down this route where there's lots of cherry trees and they can enjoy the cherry blossoms. Yeah. I'm kind of most looking forward to the section in Mashiko. Actually, both the sections in Mashiko have a pretty decent, well, they both have a mountain. That's some of it. They're not a huge mountain, but it is still a peak. And so it's off-road, it's on a trail. That's more my speed. The ones in Mocha, they're pretty much all on roads or paths like this, which isn't bad per se. I don't mind when it's a path like this, but so much of it is just walking along a road. The sights are cool, don't get me wrong. I like those. Oh, yeah. I'll just jump the fence. Ducks! Quack, quack! Quack, quack! Since it is hunting season, I wonder if that's making them a little more leery of people. Because usually they don't care if someone's standing up here. But, I mean, they've been being shot at since November 15th, so... they've got one more month of being shot at. February 15th. So this is why this side of the river I usually don't go down, is because of this crossing here. This is a kind of bigger... Oh, hey, there's a sign. That must be for the trail. Yes, it is. So the trail technically runs down this side. Okay. Oh yeah, look at that. So, yeah, I'm here. Cross, over Tochigi Bridge. Over Street, Moka Station. Yeah, there's a shoot to Ken. So, I think the next step after this, I can't remember what number this is. I feel like it's 15. I feel like the next one is 16. Must leave here. Probably goes back out and along here, because I think it goes to Osaki Jinja, which would be about... Osaki Jinja would be about here. I think that's its first stop. Oh, it's actually controlled. That's nice. I feel like it used to not be a controlled cross. So, like, you know, that weird part of living anywhere is that first 6 months, maybe a year, you do lots of stuff that's close to you. So the first 6 months, a year, I did a lot of bicycling and walking in this section and around Moka, and a little bit in Mashiko, you know, near my workplace. Then I feel like maybe your next year and a half, you go further away. So, you know, I did a lot more in like Utsunomiya over there. Nikko, still love Nikko. Haga, Northern Ibaraki, Shinseki. And then you kind of, I don't know, somewhere around 2 years, 2.5, maybe 3 years of living somewhere, you kind of change back to being like, oh, I'm just going to do things that are kind of close, and then I have a few things further away that I like. So I'm sort of in that phase. I guess. When I lived in Taiwan, I hit that. Oh, there's some snow. When I lived in Taiwan, I hit that phase at 1.2. Got Nantai. Lucky. Oh yeah, there's no way down. You have to jump. How far is it? Oh, that's easy. I've done this jump so many times where I'm just like, I don't feel like going around. I'm just gonna transfer. Not even that far, jump. Oh, and I'm in the burdocks. Oh, I don't remember there being burdocks there. Oh no. My wife's gonna be angry. My pants are a mess. Well, it'd be further to jump not in the burdocks. Anyways, yeah, that's an easy way to get down. If it's warm and like I'm wearing light clothes, I sometimes just walk across right there because it's actually pretty shallow. I think I was drinking last time I did that though, so I really don't recommend you do that. Oh, that was it. It was before there was a light there, and I wanted to cross because I didn't want to wait because there was lots of traffic. So I just walked across. Didn't even spill my beer. All right, I'm almost back to the beginning. I was right. That was going to take just about an hour. Lots of ducks. Oh, somebody's fishing way down there. So if you keep going up the river, you get into Mocha City proper. You can actually kind of see some of the apartment buildings on the southern side of the city. Although technically everything I've walked in today was Mocha City. Just kind of the way cities, towns, villages are organized in Japan. They don't really have that many villages that are independent. They are, part of a larger city, just like Mocha or Mashiko. Good. Control, water control. Oh, plenty of ducks. Oh, it's ducks. All right. Oh. All right, I'm back where I started. Hi, everyone who's watched. I hope you enjoyed this little walk-in live stream, just an hour. But I'm back where I started. I'm going to try to get into doing more live streams, either walks like this or some fishing ones in the near future. Now let me check chat, make sure there's no questions or anything interesting. No. All right, everyone. Thank you for your time today. I hope you enjoyed this, whether you watched it live with me or you're watching the replay. So, I will see you in our next adventure.